Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting and also to encourage those of you who have been painting for a while to paint along with us. And today we're going to be working on roses. And this is, oops, let me get the shine off of it there. This is my first fire. Now I know the rose and the design goes around the outside of the plate, but in this case it's intentional. Beginners have an easier time if they can get to the paint. And so I tried to put it around the outside so it's easier to paint. My favorite painter of all time is Mary Petoskey for roses. I like her. And people say, the reason I haven't done roses till now is because people say roses are not for beginners. A lot of teachers feel that. And roses are difficult. There's no doubt about it. So yes, it does take a little bit to understand roses. But quite frankly, if you're a beginner who likes roses, you're going to paint them anyway, right? So I figure you might as well see how to do it a couple of different ways and get some good ideas. I'm going to show you some of my favorite pieces that she did. I'm fortunate enough, some of you have seen this already, to own this piece. This is Mary Petoskey at her best. And you can see she does beautiful shadow leaves too. I just love the way she paints. The other thing you might, if you come across it, now I was very fortunate. Somebody gave me a lot of binders and they all had the, all the old issues of China Painter and Decorator and all that kind of thing. But it also had this. Let's Paint by Mary Petoskey. It's black and white. It's an 8-page little, how-to. But I did take some tips from that to share with you because I think they're very good ones and they will help you. This is how the line drawing looks right now. And you notice the emptiness in the center section? This is how it originally looked. But then I thought, this is stupid. If I show you how to do all these cuts, you'll never learn. So it's better if you learn on your own. So we're not using that, we're using this one. And for those of you that are new, I use a product, it's called Sorrel transfer paper. It comes on a roll. It has a dark side and a lighter side, and it's wax free. You can get it from Dick Blick. And I suppose any art supply would have it. And I cut out a piece that fits my plate. My plate is an 8.5-inch plate. I place it on the plate with the dark side down and I trace. And I use a colored pen so that I know where I left off in case the phone rings or somebody walks in the door and I know where I left off and I don't miss any spots that way. Because you know how disappointing it is to get all done, pick it up and find out you missed the whole bowl of the rose or something. Okay. And it will come out red. It won't come out black. But I have it black here because I traced over it so you'd be able to see what I'm doing. So that's why I did this, okay? I have warm brown green, old ivory. You don't want a yellow ivory. If you have your imperial ivory on your palette right now, chuck it. It's gonna be, well, you can use it, but it's gonna be a little yellow, so it'd be very pale with it. I'm using Pompadour. You can use Persian. I love Pompadour. Pompadour is one of my favorite colors. Pompadour can go from a pink all the way up to a deep, deep red. I have a rich brown on here. It's just for a stem. I have a baby blue and shading green. If you don't have shading green, you can mix like if you had dark green, but it's a blue and a green together, but it's like a dark green and a little bit of like a baby blue will get you shading green. So that's another color you can use. Okay, I'm going to point you down and I'm going to share with you first a couple of tips that I learned from Mary Petoskey's little pamphlet that might help you. You don't need to use my study. You can design your own plate. Please, if you are advanced enough, that's something you should do, okay? All right, let me get you down here. This is how I'm going to start you off, and I think it might help with the transition to painting these. The first thing I would do is, let me get my stuff going here. Make sure you clean your brush, and I'm going to load it with a little bit of Pompadour. Mary said, and I truly believe that this is true, that there are 3 levels of roses. There's the bud level, the regular level, and then there's the open level. The bud level has a very small, very narrow, and I'm going to do it on the side like this because I think it works a little better, very narrow bowl, okay? And that's this bowl. The regular has a fuller bowl. It's wider. Can you see how those are there? And then there's the open, which is a very wide bowl, like almost like this. Let me get a little more color here. A little more color here. Okay. All right. Those are the three. Then the other thing that I learned from this that I thought was really helpful is when you're doing a bud, the little C that you put up on top is very high. See how high up that is? When you're doing a regular rose, like a nicely opened rose, the C comes down more into the middle of it, like this. And when you're doing a full open rose, the C is actually at the base, like that. And then you do your cutting from there. Now you can do your cutting with a number of different things. If you have a small rose, you can use a picopay. This is a picopay. If you have a medium rose, you can use your wedge eraser or the side of your wedge eraser. You can also use, we learned last week about stumps. This is a stump. It's kind of a cardboardy pencil. And those will all help you. You can also use your brush. But when you use your brush, you have to clean it thoroughly in your turpentine, like this. Pat it thoroughly, like this. Get all the color out. And that's hard with the red. So you're going to have to dip several times until there's no color there. And then you're going to cut. And you're going to cut like this and this. And we'll go into all of this. So that gives you an idea. And then with the smaller rose, the bud, your leaves are going to be close. With the medium rose, your leaves are going to be a little further out, your petals rather. And with this one, your petals are going to be splayed in all different directions. Can you see that? Okay. And the other thing that she mentioned is that you can use this one down here, the large one. If you turn it upside down, it can be your upside down rose, and you would add petals on the back side like this. Or it could be a sideways rose. So those are a couple of things that I thought that she was that were very handy that Mary mentioned. And I really didn't realize that the size of the bowl sort of dictated the size of the rose. Okay, so keeping all that in mind, we're going to take what we're going to paint today. I'm going to start with the Persian red. And I like Persian. I like Pompadour. If you like Persian, please use the Persian. Whatever color you feel works the best for you, that's what you should use. And I'm going to start with my primary rose, which is the largest. This is my secondary. This is one that's upside down over here. And then I have a bud and actually two buds up in here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my primary. And I'm just going to, I'm using kind of the C strokes, almost like you do for the background. This is pretty big. This is a size 10 brush. And actually, it's almost too small for this guy. Let me see. I don't want to go much bigger though right now. But this is my size 10. And I'm just going to pull it across like this. You make your outer bowl first. Pull the dark color. You may have to reload your brush to get the colors correct. Pull your colors around this side. Let me pull it up this way a little. Oh. There we go. And then come up this side here. Okay. Everybody got that? And you can pull it a little bit across here because you want a little bit of the color. If you leave the center light like that, you'll get some highlight, and that's not altogether a bad thing. That's kind of a good thing. Your highlight has to be built in now or you won't get your highlights later. I've said that a million times, and that's true. Okay? Now, if it was simple on that guy, let's repeat it on this guy down here. So that's what this guy looks like. Let me pull you up a little bit there, okay? And put your oil on your brush. You're going to side load with Pompadour. This is side loading. When you go like this, and you just take your brush and you put it as a C into the paint. And you're going to start at the edge that's going to be light. I have my light marked up here with an X. And you're going to come down. You're going to go right to the bottom. If you come to the bottom of the bowl, it'll automatically give you some light at the top. Reload your brush if you're using a number 10. Turn your plate a little and come back down here and just pull it all over this way. And that gives you your second base. We're going to put the bowl in, the center in. This is the bowl, this is the center. See how it kind of looks like a teacup? This didn't help me, but some teachers say this, so it may help some of you. This is the top third, this is the middle third, and this is the saucer down at the bottom. It does look a little like a teacup if you think about it. So now I'm really loading my brush with pomp, and I'm doing strokes, but I'm doing them like this. I'm going in a C stroke, but I'm stopping myself when I reach the bottom and just pulling it across and then feathering it a little bit. That gives me the center of my bowl. Let's repeat that over on this side, shall we? This is a little wider, so I'm going to start over here, doing the same thing, side load and making strokes, C strokes, but I stop when I reach the bottom of the bowl, and then I'll just pull them around like this, make them a little softer. Remember, if you paint this direction and your lines are going up and down, if you go this way, the lines will go smooth out. Side load again. I start, well, I shouldn't. Side load and I pat it off a little bit. And you're going to start using the part of your brush that has the paint on it and just going up across the top here. And you might want to pull a little of the center up. Going to do the same thing on this one now. You're going to take, you've got your side load. Let me show you what the side load looks like. When I side load, this is the way my brush looks. You see how part of it is dark, part of it has nothing on it. That's what I want. And I'm going to do it here. Let me turn it so you can see here, here, and here. And then I'm just going to feather it up and out a little bit. Okay? So this is what I have so far. Let me turn it so you can see a little better here. Okay, now I side load again, and I'm just going around, and now I'm doing these petals that are the closest to the base, and I'm just doing around the base. I'm just kind of pulling them around the base, leaving the edge light right now. I'll go back and get that later. Here too. Now, this petal is going to be on top of this petal, so I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to make it a little darker and bring the dark down towards the bottom because I want it to make sure that I get it there. Well, it's a little too dark. It'll even out. We won't worry about it. Then I'll go back to side loading and just doing this side over here. And this one I have to even out. That's my side I don't do as well, and that's because I'm right-handed. And this side flows like butter, but the other side is always a little more difficult. And then pull this down here towards the base. You're aiming, let's pretend that there's an X right here. I'll make a dot so you can see it. Oh, maybe you can't see that. Can you see that dot there? You see the dot at the base? And as you're pulling these sides in, you're pulling them down towards that imaginary dot. On yours, it should be an imaginary dot. Okay. Same thing with the big one now. This is about the middle of the base. So I'm going to take and put an X there. That's the middle of the base. And as I do my petals, they're all aiming down towards that middle of the base. This is side load. You may have to pull it out if it gets too heavy. That's a little too heavy. Let me play with this one a minute. Hang on. There. And then we're going to do side load here. I need more oil. That's what it's telling me. I didn't pay attention, so now I got to get a little more oil. Side load here. Side load here. And don't worry if it's a little wonky right now. It'll all even out. Same thing here. Now this one's going to be on top of that one, so I want the edge of the leaf to stay light. I need a little more oil. And here I'm just going to make it a little darker because this is my bottom guy. Okay. I know I see the line. I will get to the line. I'm going to clean my brush because I think I have too much paint on it. Sometimes your brush will get paint all the way across it and you won't be able to side load and have the side load look like a side load. Here, see how it helps? It gets me back in the groove when I have cleaned my brush and then reload it with some fresh oil. It'll help you get those colors back on the way you want them to. Here I'm doing the bottom of that leaf and then I'm just pulling it in. Okay, sorry if I was in front of it. Okay, so, oh, this isn't very pretty down here. I don't know why it's giving me a hard time. There we go. So that's what I have so far. Now you can see a little buildup over on this side. If that happens to you, just take your brush and smooth it out. Make sure there's oil on your brush. I don't know if I had enough oil on my brush here. Okay, so that's the outline of your rose so far. Okay, now before I start cutting around the edges and in the middle of my rose, I want to add a little background, and I'm doing that with this brush. This is a number 10, but it's a long number 10. See the difference? Here's my number 10, here's the long number 10. I discovered this while painting this week, or last week, and it does the smoothest backgrounds I have ever had in my life. So I'm going to bring my plate over so I remember what colors I did where. And I'm going to start with, I think, some of my darker colors around the base here. And I'm just going to add in, this is the shading green. And I'm just adding it in. Now, if a little of your red mixes in, don't worry about it. You're just going to go around and you're doing, if you're following the way I do my backgrounds, I do a C. I tuck it in and then I do a C stroke. And this is shading green. And I'm just putting it on and then pulling it around. I'm pulling it around these because you can't really cut out the edges and things if you don't have something there to cut out from. So getting a little more oil on my brush. I'm going to take a little, ooh, wait a minute, my brush separated. And this brush, when it separates, is a bear. Okay, take a little bit of light blue, and I'm going to put that up in here. I want a color. I'm going to be putting some ivory on here, but I don't want to put the ivory too close to the rose or I won't have anything to cut out from because you can't see ivory. Do you see how smooth this brush works? This brush works better than any brush I have ever owned. You ever have a brush like that? Okay, and I'm going to come up into this area. Oops. I have ribbing on this plate, and I have a feeling I'm going to regret that because I'm going to have to pull up into the ribbing. which is not the way I like to paint. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little ivory and put up in here. And I'm going to blend it right into the greens and the blues, because I want this plate to have a lot of color going for it. Okay. I got to have my blues and my greens up in here. Let's do that. Okay, now before we get too far along, let me show you how to do a leaf. The leaves I think are simple, but everybody I show them to goes, I don't get it. So you tell me what you think. Okay, here we go. This plate that I did for my first coat, it took me 2 hours. So this is pretty fast for me to paint. Okay, I'm using back to my number 10. Love my number 10. So this is what I have so far. Here, let me turn it this way. You can see it a little better. Now we're going to learn how to do these leaves. Then we'll do the cutouts on the rose. I like to let the rose set up a little bit. It seems like it works a little better for me. And make sure that if you're training a brush, when you clean it, so you clean it with your turpentine, then you press it really hard with your finger. Well, not super hard, but just press it, because that's what's going to get it to do this flat thing that these brushes need to do, okay? All right, and I'm going to show you on the tile how to do a leaf. So let me move this for a moment. I'm going to put my tile up here. I'm going to show you how to do a leaf. This will be a slightly exaggerated leaf, but at least you'll see it. I'm going to use shading green because it'll be nice and bright. Okay, a rose leaf is easy. So you're going to pull this way. You're doing a C stroke, kind of an open C stroke to the center of the leaf. Okay, sometimes I do this just to remind myself that that's the center of the leaf. This is a huge leaf that I'm doing here, okay? Yours should not be this big. Yours can be smaller. Then I take and I start at the center and I pull to the other end like this. So when you're looking at a leaf, and I will draw one in here so you can see it. Oh. Okay. All right, you've done this part to here. You do it up to the middle. I changed colors and that probably didn't help. Hang on, let me clean my brush. I got a million colors on there. That's not good. Okay. And then you do, I'm switching over to warm brown green. This is what warm brown green will look like. I come to the middle, stop, because that's where you're, and then I come over to the end. Okay? So that's what I did up here. Now, flip it upside down, and you're just going to come along this side and to the point. Instant highlight along this side and to the point. And you can do a comma stroke if you want. You can even attach this a little if you want. But you want to leave as much highlight as you can. Then you're going to go in and just kind of, that's not working, hang on. I want to smooth this side down and smooth this side down just a little. Here, come here you. Okay, everybody got it? That's how we do a leaf. Okay, so let's do it. I'm going to do these three up in here. Clean off your brush. If you get the red on there from your rose or the blue from the background, don't worry about it. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay, I'm going to load a full load of ivory and a side load of a little bit of the shading green. That way, if I accidentally get too much paint on, at least it's ivory and it'll give me a nice highlight. Oh, this is not going to work up in here very well. Okay, so go to the center. Then I go from the center over, and I've got this ribbing up here, so that's not working for me too well. Let me try to go down to one that's not here. Let's try this one here. Okay, I'm going to go from this to the center. Can you see that? Then from the center over, turn it upside down. Let me turn it upside down here. You see it? Yes. And I'm going to just do the edge. That's that leaf right there. See it? I use the ivory. Here you can see the ivory pretty well. I use the ivory because it will automatically give me some color, some highlight, whether I want it or not. And then I do it here at the very end. And you're gonna, because I'm using shading green, so if your background is shading green, you may have to make this a little bit darker. Now, I'm just gonna real quick now, I'm speeding things up because I think I've shown you the basics. I'm just going to start and I'm just gonna do the bottom here. Oh. This is my quick way of speeding things up. I'm gonna do this and this. And remember it's dark here because it went under this guy. And then I'm just gonna do the base of this leaf. I'm just gonna go here and here. Okay. Don't worry about the little, I mean, I'm spending some time trying to put that little middle guy in. Don't worry about that. If you don't get the veins on this time, you can always put them on next time. That number 10 didn't work. I'm back to my long, skinny brush here that seems to work real well. And I'm just gonna, yeah, look at the difference. Whew. Okay, I'm just gonna put the background around this guy. Just enough so we can get going here. And you can see down here, I'm gonna go a little more shading because I want it to be dark. I mix the baby blue with it because you can do that. Nobody cares. It's your plate. You can paint it anything you want. I went right over that leaf there because I can do that. This is my plate. If you don't like these colors, you can use other colors. You can do whatever you want. It's your plate. Don't let anybody tell you differently. And I'm just going to get the other side here so you can see what we did. I'm going to finish this little guy here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of ivory. I want a little ivory in the center of the plate. A little bit. Pick up a little bit of pink. Maybe put it up in this area here. Okay. Because it's my plate. Okay, and then the rest is going to be the shading green. All right. And I just do circles, half circles. I mean, half C's rather, to pull it out into the background. Okay, now we're gonna cut. I tried everything this time because I wanted to do a good job of cutting. My preference ended up being the stump. And I was surprised because I really didn't think I'd like the stump, but I really do like the stump. With the brush, if you use the brush, you really have to get the color out of it. So let me show you. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. All that screeching you hear, that's my brush complaining. You want it as thin as possible. And if you're going to be putting in a cut, well, that one's not a very good one. Let's do one here. You're going to go like this, and that will give you a cut. You're going to go from the 1 o'clock position down towards the 7 o'clock. Now, see, I didn't get all my turpentine out of that. See how it's spreading now? Do I like that? I don't think so. So I think I'm going to go back now with this little guy and just fix that a little bit. It's maybe a little thicker than I want now, but I can pull it down a little more. You're still, this X that's down here, you're still aiming towards the X. Then you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to cut out this way a little bit, cut out this way a little bit. And then you see it's already angling. You don't want them all to be straight lines to the center, but you do want the end of it to just show up a little. So let me, and then you can always play with it if you don't like what you did. Up in here, you can reinforce these. And then you're going to go to the top. And the top, you're just going to cut it out. Up. Like that. Then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to get rid of those lines because I don't like those lines. You can press and lift and wipe off your brush. Press and lift. And wipe off your brush and press and lift. If you want, you can also pull the color a little further down if you need to. And then go back and reinforce some of that. And then you're going to go into the bowl. These go this way. It's a circle. I can show you better on this. See here? It's a circle. The back ones are that way, and then they go around and around and around. So when you're cutting, keep that in mind. If you have a turntable, terrific. It's a circle. It's a circle. Get the back ones first if they're easier for you, then work towards the front. The front, they don't have to be as let me get this brush here. I've got another 10 here that I like. The front do not have to be as defined. You can just pull them down a little like that and make them look like they're there. You don't have to define them a whole lot. If you want to, you can use your stump and define them like this, and that might help so you can see them better. Then you're going to go over to this side, which is your lighter side, and pull some of these guys in. Now, you don't want them all going this way and that way and this way and that way. You do want a couple of these coming across. So let's take a petal and put it right here. And let's push them down just a little with our brush. Then we'll take a little bit of dark and put your dark a little under here now that you know where you have it. And you can cut in and out of that if you need to. And that will give you a little more definition of that. And then here I'm just going to do my edges. Here I'm going to do my edges, pull it into the base. Here I'm going to do my edge and pull it into the base. This one I want towards the base a little bit. And this guy I'm just going to do this. Here it needs to have a little definition. And then you can always go back and add color if you feel that you need it. Some of the shape of my rose. And you can also go in and wipe out a little bit of highlight if you think you need it. Okay. I'm not going to play with him too much. If I do, I'll be in trouble. You can pull this down a little, soften the edges. That's what you want to do. This is still a number 10 I'm using. It's just a different color base. You can pull these up a little. Soften the edges, pull this in a little, soften the edges. Okay, and now we're on to this other rose. And with this rose, I'm going to start at the top. Start right up here. Up. Pull down a little. There we go. And then I like to start on this side just because I'm right-handed. It works the best for me. Go around, define this. Decide which of these two is on top. See there? I've got them both the same value. One has to be on top. This is the center of my rose, so if I'm going to put this guy on top, I'm going to bring him in that way. towards the center. This guy is going to go towards that center. Then here, let's do this. Let's put a, let's see here. I need a leaf that's coming across, a petal rather, that's going to come across a little bit. I think I'm going to use my, this guy, and I'm going to go, oh, I need a little more paint off of here. Okay, and I'm going to go there, come on, and maybe there. And this guy's on top, so this guy's underneath. And then I'm going to go back and pull some of these to make them a little bit. There. Just a little bit softer. Just soften the edges. And I want a little more depth in the middle here. I think I lost it. So I'm going to put it back in. You can do that. You can do anything. This is your painting. So those are my two basic roses. They're going to fire out a lot. You see how they look now? They're going to fire out to this. That's a lot. So don't be surprised. See how the edges, you're going to lose some of these edges. It actually looks better on what you're seeing than it does right on mine. Mine, it looks very white. Now I'm going to go to a little bit smaller brush. I'm going to use my number 4, my rounded one like this. And I'm just going to pull these guys down just a tad. Don't overplay with these, but I do want to have them highlighted. And sometimes a rounded brush is all you need to get a nice little highlight. And if you don't have a rounded brush, don't sweat the small stuff. Get yourself a little number 4 and use that. Okay, now we're going to go back in and finish up some of these leaves. Right now I'm doing them with, like I said, I'm doing them with ivory and shading green. We're going to start here. Just come to the middle. Oops, I need more color. You need enough color so you can tell where you left off when this is all over and done with. Oh, I'm going to put a darker green back here just to tuck that under. And then you can go back and add a little bit, make things a little darker if you think you need to. Let's do this guy here. And now I'm going to add a little warm green, only because it'll be another different color. Sometimes it's easier to put it on. You can do the end first, and then you can do the base. And another thing I'm going to show you here is warm brown green, mix it with a little bit of your pomp, and look at the color you get here. Oops, wait, that was not right. That's those stupid flutes up there. That's a little too much. Here, let me show you. I'm going to take a little pomp, take a little of this. Here, I'll do it over here. Didn't get enough there. You can bring that in, like that, and then just pull out a little on the end, a little of the pomp on the end. It really makes your roses, your rose leaves different. Okay, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I think it's pretty self-explanatory how you finish this out. Just go back, put in your background like this. I put my background kind of around everything. There we go. Let's do the upside down rose yet, because we haven't done that. Let me get it up here so you can see it a little better. I'm going to put some blue around it, just so we have some background. Oh! Okay, we didn't need that much. These flutes catch everything. I would say don't do it on a fluted plate if this is your first rose, because it's very, very difficult. Okay, here we go. Let me get a little of that off. Where's my, here. I'm using my sponge and it works really well, and it'll save you when you do something stupid like that, like I just did. Okay, let's go back. We'll use my number 10, my Pompadour. I'll get some oil on here, yeah. My Pompadour. I'm going to do this guy here. So I'm going to do the center like this. And then I'm going to do the center like here. I did the colors on the sides where they come together. And then I'm just going to run it around the base here. I'm going to ignore that little whatever that is there. And then I'm going to take and side load and do it on the edge. But leave some highlight. Okay, and then I'm going to do this. I'm putting a little red out here, a little of it, of the pomp. And I bet you wonder, what the heck is she doing? I will show you. I'm going to mix it in a little better. Okay, I'm going to take my, where's my Pico paint? Well, I can use this. I can use my stump. Get a little of the paint off the stump. I'm just going to do this. What I did there is I just put little lines at the end. And when this actually gets done, and it all comes out of the kiln, the black will be gone, the little lines will be there, and they'll look like petals, you know, lined up there, one over the other. And then I'm just going to briefly paint in the, I'm wiping this out first because it kind of got too much color in there. I'll put a little bit of the green in and do these little sepals up here at the top. Okay. Will I do my stems? Probably. I don't know. I did them on that, the other one. I don't know if I'm going to do them on this one. One of the problems I have is when I have the black here, when I put in, you see here, I put in the stems. See how heavy they are? I didn't really want them like that at all. And if I put them in when they're black like this, I can't really see what I'm doing. And so I think I'm going to wait till the next time to put that in. The other thing I'm noticing is kind of right here. It looks like it could use a little bit of a petal down there. So I'm just going to take the lightest little bit of red and just pull it in down there. So that next time I have the option, if I want, to make that a petal. In fact, I can do it now like that. See, it makes it a petal. Boom, it's a petal. Here's my bud right here, right out here. Oh, I'll turn it so you can see it. Okay, I'm just going to paint the center in with the pink. And then I'm just going to paint the green in. I'm going to make it darker at the base. Here, let me just paint it in real quick and you'll see. Make it darker at the base and then pull it up to the top. That's all I'm going to do. And this one here is a bud, but it's just a green bud. So make one side of it darker than the other. I hope that helps. This is the first fire. So if you don't get to the buds on this fire, put a little yellow background, like an ivory background there, and you can just paint over the top of it. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to take, and for the rest of the plate, we've got this part done pretty much, okay, up here. For the rest of the plate down here, put a little blue around the outside, put a little ivory in the inside. While you're painting it, try to keep the color going all the way through. Don't break off, because if you break off like this and it dries and you're using a drying medium, you're going to have a line smack dab across the middle. okay? Well, everybody, pick up those brushes, keep painting. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.